Just about 2 days before my live performance, I learned that song. My word. Plus, each time I did it on the program, I felt like throwing up. The world was cheering for Darci Lynne, a teenage girl with an angelic voice, and Simon Cowell's mouth dropped. Although I love her, she is a major source of stress in my life. You fret excessively, Oscar. Let the good times roll sometimes, you know. The charm of a seasoned comic and the dexterity of a Broadway puppeteer. She was exceptional. Her impact was profound. The issue is, though, no one ever tells you this. All that confetti, standing ovations, and a picture-perfect smile masks a story that is raw and quietly tragic. You'll be amazed that she kept performing despite her heavy load. Persist with me to the finish. We must listen to the truth, no matter how painful it is. After winning AGT, Darci Lynne finds herself swept up in the glare of stardom. An unforeseen and delightful turn of events launched Darci Lynne upon the path that would win over millions of hearts. For Darci, it was May 30th, 2017, a day that was everything but ordinary. That day was a watershed moment in her life that would alter her perceptions of childhood, fame, and aspirations forever. Yes, well, classes have begun. I need to make up for the 3 weeks I was absent. Anxieties, dreams, and a little pink puppet named Petunia accompanied the 12-year-old Oklahoma girl as she took the stage on America's Got Talent, ready to provide a memorable performance. Classic and difficult by any measure, she performed Summertime from Porgy and Bess through her puppet with such grace and vocal power that even the seasoned judges were taken aback. Did it exist? Was that truly this young girl's voice, hitting those notes with such conviction and feeling? A few of spectators let out gasps of surprise. It was a thrilling experience that sends shivers down your spine. There was a subtle change in the air, and then it transpired. Melby sprang to her feet, slammed the golden bell firmly, and then threw golden confetti at Darci. In that split second, that deafening clamor, Darci's whole world shifted into hyperdrive. In the span of 30 hours, her audition video surpassed all others in terms of views on American Got Talent. Try to picture that. A student from Oklahoma who was in middle school became famous all around the world in just over 24 hours. Actually declared the winner of America's Got Talent. I am uncertain. I'm absolutely taken aback at the moment. A whirlwind engulfed Darci as she was still on the emotional high from her performance. Amazing though it was, that was just the beginning of something more larger and more complicated than anyone had foreseen. With an unexpected voice, a puppet, and a broad grin, she strode onto the stage. A gifted ventriloquist, Darci Lynne was more than that. The United States of America adored her. America is becoming hip and happening. 52 million. After the lights went out, though, what became to her? Standing ovations and golden confetti were just the beginning of Darci's unexpected obstacles. What was the mistake? At what point did things start to go downhill? This narrative will explain what happens to a young person when they become famous. The whole narrative is more moving and uplifting than you would expect, so be sure to watch it to the very end. Darci kept stunning as the race progressed. She demonstrated that her abilities were not an accident by introducing new puppet characters, including Oscar, a timid mouse, and Edna Dornacher, a fiery old woman who had a crush on Simon Cowell. There was more to her performances than meets the eye. They moved people to tears and provided hours of nonstop entertainment. All right, Oscar. Who among us was the lucky recipient of the golden buzzer? Sweet pea. Viewers had already adored her by the time she sung her final performance, with a little assistance from my buddies. And it was official when the results were in on September 20th, 2017. Season 12 of America's Got Talent was won by Darci Lynne. Also, not any old winner. As far as AGT finales go, she had the most votes ever. That is truly groundbreaking. Darci Lynne is the lucky recipient of the $1 million. However, let me explain. Quick and sudden fame, particularly for a young person, is rarely a guarantee of happiness. Darci started getting an unbelievable amount of attention. Interviews, photo shoots, guest appearances, and millions of fans on social media were pouring in within weeks. Her appearance on Ellen DeGeneres' show, performing alongside Pentatonix and Terry Fader, came as a complete surprise. A 5-city tour unexpectedly expanded into a 52-venue countrywide extravaganza. The first big solo performance she did was a 6-minute sellout. Yes, Half an hour. I simply practiced in front of my mirror after she offered me some pointers, and they stuck. Holy cow. That is absolutely astounding. That goes beyond mere fame. It's chaos, baby. Nevertheless, Darci made every effort to remain grounded despite all that success. There was still her childhood to cling to, her friends to see, and school to consider. How, though, can one return to the tedium of algebra assignments and school meals after appearing on national television before an audience of 15 million? The problem, for which no one can adequately prepare you, was that, instead of finding a feeling of normalcy upon her return to Deer Creek Middle School, Darci found herself captivated by the stars. Everyone is like, "Oh my goodness, Darci Lynne." I am awestruck. "Oh my gosh," she exclaimed, half smiling, describing how everyone is acting. No one, especially a young girl attempting to mature, can handle that type of constant scrutiny. She wasn't the only one. Even though he had never sought attention, her brother Nate ended up in the middle of it all. Rather than being able to talk about his own life, Darci would always have to field queries about his sister when he got home, which would annoy him. Are you able to fathom that? As a teenager, you're trying to find your own identity, but it seems like everyone you know is more interested in your brother or sister. Apparently, fame wasn't solely a problem for Darci. Even her family was feeling the effects. This is going to be a blast. It's more like a great family day show than anything else. A deal was reached by Darci and her team in order to manage everything. To avoid missing too much class, she would go on tours on holidays and weekends. That appears to be a reasonable option in theory. But how can you possibly fit in all of your travel, sound checks, performances, and meet and greets on weekends? Then there are the weekdays, when your schedule is jam-packed with math tests, locker rumors, and selfie requests from the youngsters. That equilibrium is challenging. That's a lot of work. As time went on, the distinction between Darci's private and public lives became less distinct. It gets somewhat tipsy. Because I'm considering, 10 different things at once, people were curious to watch my brain activity. But where did the performer start and the female finish? Can a child still be a famous person? Those are challenging inquiries, which even grown-ups have trouble answering. This is a narrative about the unanticipated consequences of stardom, particularly when it comes at an ungodly hour, and it is interwoven with Darci Lynne's tale of extraordinary skill and unparalleled achievement. What happens when the lights go out and you still have homework to do the next day is the subject of this story. It's a sad reminder that when others don't let them be themselves, not even the brightest stars can shine. In the shadows, Darci fights loneliness and fear. Far more complicated than anyone watching from their living room could have anticipated was Darci Lynne's journey, hidden behind the brilliant lights, viral acclaim, and the lovely illusion of a dream come true story. The general public perceived a self-assured, vivacious ventriloquist who possessed an extraordinary voice and an aura of youthful charisma. The young girl fighting inner demons, the clamor of which her celebrity magnified, lay hidden beneath her radiant smile. People tend to think that having fame while you're a youngster is all fun and games. Well, Darci's experience serves as a reminder that there were hints on the America's Got Talent stage that the challenges that lay ahead would be more daunting than they appeared. Childhood friends and acquaintances would often remark on how extremely timid she was, and how the prospect of singing in front of an audience seemed like an insurmountable mountain. After seeing how shy she was, her parents realized she needed to break out of her shell if she ever wanted to show the world what she could do. Instead of bringing her into the realm of pageantry for the glamour, they subtly guided her there in the hopes that it would encourage her to open up. They hoped that by enrolling her in the International Cinderella Scholarship Program, she would gain confidence and overcome her dread of performing. Although it assisted her in taking those initial courageous steps, it did not eradicate her essence as a girl who had profound emotions and frequently fretted. After she won America's Got Talent at the tender age of 12, her life took a dramatic turn. It was always a goal of mine, and I'd also like to see ventriloquism continue to thrive as a unique and entertaining kind of entertainment. Are you aware of this? Just the other minute, she had a puppet show as a little townie. One day she was a hero to the country. Unfortunately, being famous doesn't leave much room for adaptation. She was suddenly expected to be prepared, to show off, to be cheerful, and to shoulder the burden of expectations that would crush most grown-ups. And she has acknowledged this as well. At the tender age of 12, I attempted to make sense of the unfolding events. Taking it all on at once was overwhelming. Can you fathom the force of such a tornado? Out of nowhere, you find yourself being interviewed by national media, traveling across the nation, and perusing online comments made by complete strangers, all while you're supposed to be completing your schoolwork. Darci fought an invisible enemy, doubt, even as her concerts sold out and millions adored her. The sort that says, maybe you're not good enough, even when everyone else is applauding, rather than the what should I wear today kind. At times, she would question whether it had all been a coincidence. Could it have been pure chance? What if my abilities aren't up to par with what others perceive? With each encore and fan mail, she would imagine that the creeping imposter syndrome didn't go away. It persisted, subtly casting doubt on her value, even as her career skyrocketed. Behind every standing ovation, there may lie a softly quivering heart, the type of thing that famous people seldom discuss. One of her major struggles was attempting to maintain a normal adolescent life while her reputation was skyrocketing. Darci was on airplanes, stages, and red carpets while her peers were fretting over lunch companions and school dance attire. She longed for even a little bit of normalcy, even though that sounded exciting, and there were aspects of it that were. She admitted that there were times when she wished she could just be a regular kid, going to school dances, spending time with friends, and just enjoying life normally was something I missed. Notoriety had unveiled certain opportunities, but it had discreetly closed others. What was the point? Undoubtedly, she pondered that matter on multiple occasions. Furthermore, there was the constant expectation to be the charming, positive persona that viewers of American Idol liked. In the past, Darci has spoken about how she felt pressured to constantly meet that standard. She expressed her struggle with feeling pressured to constantly project an image of perfection on American Got Talent. No wonder that kind of expectation began to impact her mental health. After all, how can one remain flawless when real life is chaotic and emotions are maturing? She started to worry excessively about the opinions of people and how she came across. She admitted that she was anxious about making a fool of herself or disappointing her devoted admirers, and that she was always concerned about the opinions of others. Envision yourself as a teenager attempting to navigate life with that heavy burden on your mind. Even her once stable educational environment became too much to handle in the conventional manner. I missed a lot of class time since I was on tour, performing, and filming. Her explanation was that she had a particularly difficult time last year while attending public school. It was difficult to miss so much work and then have to rush to catch up when I returned from touring. She couldn't juggle the demands of her job with those of a traditional academic day. She finally made the difficult decision to switch to homeschooling in 8th grade after much deliberation and likely a great deal of hemming and hawing. She finally decided on the best course of action, albeit it was not an easy one. Although it was a tough decision, it gave her the freedom she needed in her personal and professional life. Despite facing numerous obstacles, Darci's family remained a constant in her life. The strain she was under was so great that her parents gave up things they cared about just to be there for her. They are her emotional support system and schedule managers. They left their careers to be with her full-time. She made the observation that her parents had kept her quite grounded. That type of unwavering support might have been the anchor that held her stable in a world that devours and discards young talents with ease. A kid named Darci Lynne has more going on in her narrative than simply a golden buzzer moment and a puppet. It delves into the consequences of talent meeting pressure and the challenges of remaining authentic in the face of societal expectations. Behind every dazzling spotlight, there may be an individual silently fighting for inner peace. Her story serves as a reminder of this. Someone who, in spite of their fame and fortune, longs to rediscover the joy of childhood. Therefore, it may be prudent to inquire, at what cost, the next time someone claims she has it all. Sadly, fans have begun to notice and voice their disapproval of this tragic fact. The public is worried about Darci's stress and health. What happens next might alter your perception of her irrevocably, so remain put. The public is worried about Darci's well-being and the emotional impact. Katie, the yodeling cowgirl, and 13-year-old Darci Lynne Farmer, who is the current AGD champion, are here today. While Darci Lynne's star continued to rise, a far more subtle and concerning development was taking place behind the scenes. Signs of distress began to emerge from the same adolescent who had previously captivated audiences with an infectious grin and limitless energy. Others of her longtime fans on America's Got Talent saw subtle but noticeable changes in her performance, which caused others to whisper about her. Did something more profound happen, or was it merely the result of growing pains? It started off with little issues. Fans noticed that Darci appeared somewhat more reserved during interviews. Her formerly vivacious personality was subdued, as if someone had secretly turned down the light. After that, there were the exhausted eyes, the overly forced grin, and the infrequent but noticeable absences. As worried followers took to social media, they started to make sense of things. Much commentary ensued. Her weariness is palpable. Where's she at? Plus, Darci has been acting strange as of late. Speculation, being what it is on the internet, naturally gained traction quickly. People started making assumptions about her health and fatigue based on a shaky snapshot or a canceled show. Is it possible that the intensity of the limelight that brought forth her best is now draining her? The situation was already complicated when the cameras were not rolling. Darci had evolved into more than just the innocent puppet girl. With a packed schedule of performances, interviews, and rehearsals, she had become a national sensation. There was constant pressure. Those closest to Darci said that she started showing signs that no one could ignore. Soon, it wasn't simply a matter of being tired. Chronic weariness began to set in. Feeling completely depleted was how it felt. She allegedly told her closest pals that she had trouble getting out of bed some mornings. Fatigue that not even sleep could alleviate pressed down upon her body. Soon, headaches became commonplace. We had sleepless nights. The continual pressure, stress, and weariness of performance took its toll on her voice, her most valuable asset. The physical toll wasn't the only one, though. Darci was emotionally dragged down. Her panic attacks were more frequent and unpredictable. Just picture yourself dreading the prospect of taking the stage in front of a crowd of thousands while your heart races and your breath becomes shallow. Amidst the silent cries of a body and mind pleading for relaxation, she felt ensnared by the pressures of fame. She had broken her shell with the help of this particular gift, the stuffed animals that she used to find solace in. At last, we've reached the America's Got Talent finals. You guys, where are you at right now? It seemed like she had to lug this burden with her everywhere she went. Her loved ones were tremendously supportive throughout this ordeal. Her overprotective parents sensed a shift was necessary. Their decision was to take her away, to protect her from the harsh realities of the industry that can be intimidating for anyone, especially a teenage girl, and the constant barrage of online information. Her social media activity was reduced, she declined numerous interview requests, and a buffer zone was established around her. The point wasn't to keep her hidden. Preserving her was the main concern. Reportedly, her mother stated that they were solely concerned with prioritizing their daughter's welfare over the pressures of public life. In the process, they also enlisted the aid of medical experts, therapists, counselors, and doctors to assist Darci during what was likely the most challenging period of her early career. When the cheers died down and the stage lights go off, what then? The solution was a time of needful seclusion, introspection, and recovery for Darci Lynne. Those closest to her understood that she needed to put her health and happiness first, even though her fans may have missed seeing her less frequently. Ultimately, isn't that what counts the most? When the lights go down and the cheers die down, what counts most are mental clarity, physical health, and the presence of loved ones. A peaceful rebirth, a rediscovering of identity, and an uplifting metamorphosis that still moves people today are the results of Darci's courageous decision, which was more beautiful than any spectacular performance. What follows is more than just a new chapter, so stay tuned. That kind of turning point could inspire you as well. People are inspired by Darci's ability to reinvent herself. This is more than just a charming narrative about a young girl named Darci Lynne and her puppet. It's on a deeper level. It delves into the inner resilience required to navigate a life of constant scrutiny, the perplexion of being misunderstood when the world assumes your identity, and the courageous choice to transform oneself despite societal pressures to remain unchanged. Do you remember when Darci Lynne, at the little age of 12, shocked everyone with her incredible vocals and magnetic personality? After winning over viewers on America's Got Talent with her puppet Petunia, she and the show became overnight sensations, showing the world what genuine, unadulterated happiness looked like. Returning to this platform brings you immense joy. Absolutely, Petunia. Yeah. However, what occurs when the youngster reaches adulthood and begins to question whether there is more to her than what was initially perceived? When the year was 2024 and Darci was 19 years old, he did something that made people wonder. Reclining on the AGT stage, she returned. No one ever asked me, Darci, what are you going to do with the $1 million if you win it? While I was on American Got Talent. As a young woman with a very different perspective than the little girl with the puppet. Did she feel anxious? In a word, yes. I feel pressured to repeat my 12-year-old self-performance, but I refuse to be pigeonholed, she confessed before her America's Got Talent Fantasy League performance. Wow, it was a powerful statement, wasn't it? Because how many individuals can say they've ever been stifled by the weight of other people's expectations? In her daring and unexpected rendition of I've Got the Music in Me, Darci took a huge risk. She put Petunia down for a while. She decided to prove to everyone that she was more than simply a ventriloquist by picking up a guitar instead. She was an individual with her own artistic vision, and she was prepared to carve out her own niche. But whence did the inspiration for all this new work originate? Fascinatingly, it began amidst a period of relative calm and uncertainty, the pandemic. Darci was stranded at home, like countless others, with no idea what to do. I didn't know what to do with myself because I hadn't been home for a couple of years, she revealed later. For someone who had spent the majority of her teenage years performing or filming, that must have been incredibly unsettling. However, she embraced the tranquility rather than allowing it to consume her. In the same way, she learned herself to compose music. Just a little update. Press attention absent. A young woman contemplating her many potential identities in her room. That is very stunning, isn't it? Her creative horizons expanded as a result of her investigation. Maggie McClure and Shane Henry, two musicians from Oklahoma, began collaborating with Darci. Push Our Luck, her debut single, was released on February 5, 2024, and they were the creative forces behind its creation. The tune captures the jittery excitement and flutter of a new romance in a simple, infectious way. According to Darci, it's like trying to capture the excitement of a first date. It is sincere. Someone who isn't trying to pass as someone else wrote it. And that makes it more relatable. That wasn't the end of her inventiveness. In addition, Darci gave acting a go. Plus, she was in the movie A Cowgirl's Song, which was released on Netflix in February of 2022. Indeed, it was an obvious match. She found a new way to combine her passions for music and performing in this part, which allowed her to showcase her Oklahoma roots. She next dabbled in production, working on Push Our Luck's music video, which went on to win Best Music Video 2024 at the Los Angeles Film Awards. I agree with that. Darci was more than simply her music. In the background, she shaped its complete vision, and she shows no signs of slowing down. Someone Wake Me Up, a soulful pop single she dropped not long ago, revealed a different, more expressive side of her vocals. My goal as a performer is to bring joy and a smile to people's faces. She is also now working on a new traveling performance that will debut in 2025 and incorporate ventriloquism among her many other abilities, including singing, songwriting, storytelling, and, of course, ventriloquism. But now that she sets the rules, she's more than simply the girl with the puppet. This young woman has a tale to tell and the freedom to express it in her own unique style. Is it real that I am experiencing this? I recall thinking to myself, my life is going to be completely different from now on before I went to sleep that night. In light of this, what can we learn from Darci Lynne's story? That it's all right to evolve, that it's okay to adapt, and most crucially, that it's okay to risk failing even when others want you to remain static. Reason being, not everyone remembers your finest self-expression. The one you're evolving into is it. Darci is embarking on a new chapter as a performer and as an advocate for the power of voice and platform. I remember seeing ventriloquism for the first time at church when I was about 5 years old. Alternatively, something far more substantial than ventriloquism or internet stardom. Do not budge. Hold on a second. What she has planned next, particularly in regards to children and mental health issues, has the potential to be the most impactful chapter of her narrative so far. Children and mental health issues are beneficiaries of Darci's platform. Darci Lynne has been subtly demonstrating that her heart is as enormous as her talent, away from the dazzling lights of stage performances and the deafening ovation of venues filled to capacity. Although she is most famous for her electrifying ventriloquism performance on America's Got Talent, there is another side to her that deserves more recognition. It's her decision to use her platform for healing, uplifting, and making a difference where it counts most, rather than merely entertaining. Darci has already started weaving her name into places where creativity meets compassion at such a young age. Among her many adventures, the day she spent at the Seacrest Studios in the Children's Hospital of Orange County sticks out, not with spotlights or fancy effects, but with something far more powerful: kindness and connection. She enchanted the crowd with her favorite puppets, Petunia and Oscar. Present were a lot of sick kids present, and Darci's performance was more than simply a break for them. Joy, a little bit of normalcy, and the knowledge that someone cared profoundly were all there at that one moment. Even for a few moments, can you fathom the significance that must have had for those children? The story doesn't end there, either. It wasn't as simple as Darci leaving the hospital and going to the next event. Instead, she kept popping up in a variety of forms, each serving a distinct purpose. She spoke out in favor of Horses for Mental Health, a nonprofit that employs horse therapy to aid those with mental health issues. She was a part of a movement that won over supporters' hearts even though it failed to garner much attention, standing alongside actors Dennis Quaid and others. Throughout her participation, she expressed her appreciation for being a part of something meaningful, expressing her joy at being able to bring attention to the remarkable ways horses may improve our mental health. A person who understands it was reflected in the soundbite. Why would a young person be so self-aware and purposeful in trying to raise others up? Is it possible that her personal experience with overnight stardom, relentless scrutiny, and the pressures of a public eye upbringing helped her to better grasp the nature of emotional struggles? After all, no one is immune to nervousness or lack of confidence just because they are renowned. The opposite is true. It might amplify those emotions. Perhaps that is why Darci's advocacy for programs that improve mental health feels so close to home. She's doing more than simply giving her celebrity to an organization's cause. She has been there and knows what it's like to be in need of assistance. It's not always about the number of followers or popular videos. Darci's actions prove that. Being present in places where people are suffering and doing something, anything, to make them feel like they matter may be a powerful act of kindness. Her special kind of empathy shines through whether she's on stage making a puppet laugh or offstage standing by the side of people fighting mental health issues. The world could use more people like that, don't you think? Someone who, rather of shining a light on himself, helps others find their way out of the shadows. This brings us to the conclusion of the video. Much obliged for your time. Please hit the like, comment, and subscribe button if you found this video entertaining. If you would want to see more exciting stories, you should watch the video that appears on your screen.